Alright, Title 15, Chapter 15, Subchapter A, 275, Subpart 2, and we're in Oil, Gas Commission, Department of Energy, Environment, Subpart 2, Drilling Production, Part 209, Drilling Dry Gas Well, Plugging Methods. Case well, using the section case well with the which with the production case man 7 with the cement with the cement with the class A with the class H cement minimum weight with the 14.5 pounds a gallon and left with the cement contained with the additives and improve the ability to cement with the provide necessary protection maintain with the minimum compressive strength with the 500 pound PSI with the at 72 hours circulation method meaning with the placement of cement with the plugging the well with the circulating cement with the positive with the pressure for the displacement with the tubing so with the specified with the depth of the well. A dump baler method means the placement of cement, either the plugging with a dump baler into the wire line. Generally, oiled waste means when the oil rag with a chemical contained within include the unused chemical with the oil filter gasket with the used motor oil with the lubrication oil with the hydraulic fluids, diesel fuel paint, solvent waste, other similar waste generally with the during the deeping, drilling with the completion production work over the plugging activities which are not exempt of the provisions of the Title C with the Federal Resource Conservation Act of 1976, Public Law number 94-580. Mud only with the fresh water with the drilling with a mud minimum weight with 9 pounds a gallon with a minimum of viscosity with 45 seconds with the API fully funnel method. Mud containing water, fresh brine with a ethanol, atopultigated and other additives does not reduce the weight with a viscosity below the required minimum. Plugging fluid waste mean with the plugging fluids including cement with the general with the well during the plugging activities. Uncased well with the means of the well with which production casing has not been set not by cemented the uncased well with the uncased well with the shall be plugged with required in Title 15 Code Arkansas Rule 275-207. Notice the plugging of the uncased of the well shall be given the Oil Gas Commission regional off the well located in accordance with the Title 15 Code Arkansas Rule 275-207. Following initial notice of the Commission regional office additional requirements contained in the well plugging operation must be given the permit to the older permit authorized representative. Uncased well with the wood immediate casing when shall be subject with the required plugging time frame of the uncased well with the applicable plugging requirement of the case well with the subsection C with the low with the shrub with the production fresh water oil gas cones. Plugging requirements uncased with the well bore shall be filed with the total depth of the well base for the certification of the commencement of the plug operation. Any zone with the have been contracted with the oil and gas occurring with the wells 1/2 mile with the uncased well with the have within 100 feet of the cement plug above each such correlated interval of the uncased well with the zone with the contained with the amount of the hydrogen sulfide gas and the zone with the well with the dose of which does not contain hydrogen sulfide gas. By hydrogen sulfide gas over the same zone with this well with the 1/2 mile strip to cover the minimum cement plug with 100 feet below with 100 feet above the zone, with a greater amount of cement sufficient with the shut off the control of the flow of the hydrogen sulfide gas. The surface casing has been set with the depth of at least 500 feet over the well 100 foot cement plugs over the placing utilizing circularization method with a depth of 50 feet below the surface of the casing with the depth of the deep fresh water of 1/2 mile with a dry hole with extending 50 feet of the cemented surface casing. When the surface casing has not been a minimum depth of 500 feet when the well with the commencement plug shall be placed with a depth of at least 500 feet with a depth of deep water, fresh water within 1/2 mile with a dry hole with extending with 5 feet with 50 feet with a cemented with a surface casing. After any zone with not covered with a surface casing space with this with above with the reduce of the water drilling with subsequent plugging operation covered with a minimum cement plug with 50 feet below the 50 feet above zone greater amount of cement sufficient to shut off the flow of water. Cement plug should be placed with a minimum depth of 50 feet with a depth of 3 feet below the surface of the ground casing with a cutoff of 3 feet below the ground surface. Deeper the surface condition indicated with the platted well with the top of the casing with the remaining well bore filled with the soil with the level that within such remain but not interfere with the cultivation surface use. In the case of lost tools, a stuck drill pipe at every reusable attempt should be made to recover the tool with the drill pipe at least tip of the required surface casing with the plug with the required surface casing plugs as required above. In the event a lost tool with a drill pipe cannot be recovered the depth of below the required depth of the surface casing of the plug with the direction of production conservation may be the very plugging requirements of subdivision B5 with the specifying alternative plugging requirements and the determination whether to approve selecting alternative plugging requirement of the direction shell with the potentially damage consider with the potential damage of fresh water depth of lack loss of the tools equipment in relation to the depth of fresh water zones well construction characteristics the potential upgrade mitigation well bore fluids with the fresh groundwater casing wells shall be applied with the required in Title 15 Code Arkansas Rules 275-207. Notice for the plugging of the casing well should be given to the Commission Regional Office wherever located within the Title 15 Code Arkansas Rule 275-207. Plugging requirements of the well bore shall be filed with a minimum of the total of the depth of the well base for the surface of the bullet base for the surface of the casing prior to the commencing of the plugging operation. Cast iron bridge plugs may be set above the lowest perforated interval between the perforated intervals prior to the filling of the well bore with the mud wood. Gates of the well bore with the need only to be filled with above the top of the outermost cast iron bridge with the base of the surface of the casing with the pipe of the commencing plugging operation. If the using of the circulation method with a cement plug with not less than 100 feet in length of the place over the 50 feet below the top of the depth, not exceeding the 15 feet below, extending the cross of the perforated interval with the prior point of 50 feet above each perforated interval. D1, if using the dump baler method, the cast iron bridge plug shall be placed inside of the cement portion of the production casing immediately above each of the perforated interval bridge plug, covered a minimum of 10 feet of cement. The alternative, the cast of the iron plug may be plugged over the lowest, most perforated interval of the wellbore casing field, cementing it at 50 feet above the top of the uppermost perforated interval, provided with the production cast well with the annual is filled with the cement fired at 50 feet above the uppermost perforated interval. EI, if the cement did not if the cement is not present on the outside of the production casing of the location of each of the required cement plugs specified for the subdivision C3F in A section below, cement is placed for the outside of the production cell casing wellbore annually prior to 50 feet below the total depth of the wellbore do not exceed the point of 50 feet below the extending cross of the required interval to be plugged at point 50 feet above each required interval to be plugged. Whoever the director may approve of the alternative to be equally protect for the placement of the cement plugs, open and hold the device to plug with the material that is necessary to do with the well construction limitations. F1, any of the zone with the recovery of the surface casing of the production water during the plugging operation when the known with sufficient with the water producing formation of the known that overpressure for the trouble to cover the minimum of cement plug with 50 feet below and then 50 feet above the zone and greater amount of cement sufficient for the shut off the flow of the water. The director may approve of the alternative to equally protect for the plugging material of the open and hold of the devices and shut off the flow of the water. If the surface of the casing has been set with a minimum depth of 500 feet of the well, 100 feet of the surface of the casing with cement plug should be placed outside of the inside of the production casing of the production and not remove the depth of 50 feet below the base. Surface case for the depth of the deep of the fresh water of the 1/2 mile of the well bore extended the 50 feet into the cemented surface casing. H1, surface of the casing has not been set with a minimum depth of 500 feet of the well with the cement plug placed on the outside of the inside of the production casing of the production casing with not remove the depth of at least 500 feet with the depth of deep fresh water 1/2 mile well bore was extended with 50 feet of the cemented surface of the casing present with a well bored. However, the end can be demonstrated with the fast bearing zone or present below the existing casing can be set with a well to direct with the approved an ultimate source of the casing plug with extending with the 50 feet or below with the existing surface of the casing extending 50 feet over the cemented surface casing present in the well bore. Casing should be 3 feet below the ground surface of the deeper surface of the condition and with a plated well with the top of the casing and the remaining well bore with soil leveled with such a manner that the inferior such elevation surface use. Cemented plug no less than 3 feet should be played with the well with the top of the casing. Foreign material with the prohibited. Except for the unavoidable loss of the drilling with the logging tool of the production equipment that prescribes some of the damage casing with the construction, the well bore placing, lodging on the material substance on the plug with the well, either fill with the bridge of the hole with the purpose of avoiding proper plugging with the procedure for the prohibited. Foreign materials which have them in place with the hole should be removed from before plugging operation commence. Plugging a bridge well with the wind wells becomes obstructive because of the loss of the drilling logging tool with the producing equipment which, when impractical, will remove the directive of the plugging requirements of the subdivision C5 with a specifically alternate plugging requirement to determine whether to approve of the selecting of the alternate plugging requirement. The director shall consider time cost removing the tools and equipment, the potential for the damage of fresh water, the depth of the loss to the equipment, the relation to the depth of the fresh water zone with the well construction characteristics. Potential upward migration well bored fluids into the fresh ground. Horizontal well plugging procedure with the uncased well with the plugging the procedure with the corner of the subsection B with the section above the exemption of the production interval plugging with the plate for the beginning of the well curve with the pick-off point with the require the cement plug with the extended above the point well place drill with the maybe with the horizontal level of the well up to with the kick-off point with the kicked-off point below with the known fresh water with the case of the well with the plugging procedure with the corner subsection C with above with the exemption production interval with the plate for the beginning of the well curve with the kick-off point require the cement place and extended above the point with a well-based drill that may be used with a horizontal lateral well-bore kickoff point. But the kickoff point is below the known fresh ground water. If the vertical point is drilled below the well-curved kickoff point with a pilot hole with an enter with another producing interval with a vertical pilot hole with below the kickoff point with a 100 feet cemented plug shall be placed above each correlated interval within counter with the vertical pilot hole prior to the drilling the horizontal portion of the well unless approved with the drain produce another interval encounter with the pilot hole with the corner with the applicable general rule of the ordering commission. Additionally, the director may approve of the alternate form of the zone isolation based on the productive potential isolated zone of the well site cleanup and then corner with the subsection E with the section below. Well site cleanup of well plugging well to the permit holders provided the one pit with the subdivision E2 with the section below with the leak free with the above ground portable container with the plugging fluid waste shall be deprived with the plugging pits shall be construed with the sufficient compatibility contained with the plugging of fluid wave of the pits and maintained with a manner the reasonable prevents overflow during plugging operation. Plugging pits with the temporary storage of the plugging fluid waste shall not be used to dispose of the general oil field waste. The general oil field waste generally during plugging activity should be temporarily stored with itself contained with the removal of the site with the conclusion plugging activity. General oil field waste should be disposed of the on-site layer of plugging plates. All plugging plates should be filed with graded within 30 days of the conclusion plugging activity unless extension has been granted directly. All plugging pits should be closing and no subsidence over the leaking fluid where applicable division connection, compaction support, agricultural forestry machinery. All production equipment, concrete bases, machinery, and equipment debris shall be removed from the site. All drilling in the whole rat hole shall be filled with a mud at least 10 feet below the surface with a point of cement plug should be placed 10 feet and 3 feet below the ground level to level the surface with the soil. Any other excavation should be developed over well-sited ground counter or prevent erosion. Alternative plug methods may be authorized. Director provides some same or equal level protection freshwater, oil, gas zones maintained. 209 dry well gap plugging in procedures, and we're 11 minutes into the tape. Alright, seismic core and other explanatory holes, plug method records, Title 15 Code, Arkansas Rules 275-210. Before any hole is debated with which of the drill with the seismic core with the other explanatory purpose of the freshwater formation should be the duty of the owner and the driller any such hole with a plug with a hole same with such made with a properly protect all water bearing formations. Core holes are shown comply with the minimum surface of the casing with the plugging requirements. No core holes should be complete with the producing well of the plug record should be filled with no later than 30 days of the day of the drilling operating commence. Copy of the electrical log should be filed with the Oil Gas Commission no later than 1 year of the day of the drilling operation commence. In the event of the electrical log was not run, the operator shall file with a copy of the driller's log. All information required with the file shall be kept with the confidential period of 1 year of the date of drilling when the operation commence. That was 210. Alright, 211. The domestic natural gas well with the conservation permitted oil natural gas well give the domestic natural gas freshwater supplies. Domestic natural gas well. Any gas well drilled by a person with domestic livestock with the addition agricultural natural gas well not under jurisdiction of Oil Gas Commission is not subject to permit with the regulating commission. Provided if the natural gas is not sold regardless of sale, otherwise sales may be subject to the applicable state laws. Gas produced with the well operating in the domestic well is gathered to resell with the other wells with the under jurisdiction of the commission. So be sure with the applicable with the regulatory requirements commission and any other applicable state laws regarding production, gathering, distribution of natural gas by use by the commissioners. Domestic use there November 16, 2008 with the control of the natural gas production required with the permit by the commission transfer to serve the owner for use of the domestic natural gas supply with the wells not produced with the commercial quantities natural gas during the 24 calendar month period. The operator for all of the form of the discover the director of production of conservation required the transfer of the well surface to the owner should include with the documentation of the surface of the owners and accepting transfer to the well as you the domestic natural gas supply well. Same with the surface of the owner with the operator's natural gas well will be used with the property well is located with the natural gas production well but will not be sold. Written documentation over the owners are Arkansas Code 572-102 with the 9 mineral owners from drilling units open with a well located stating with a note do not object with the transfer of well surface of the owner. Oil and natural gas production may be transferred for the surface of the owner with the domestic livestock freshwater supply water provide. Operators form with the prescribed with the director request the transfer of the well for the owner prior to the commencing of the plugging operation shall include with the written documentation recommendations over the owner accepting transfer to a well for use of freshwater supply well. Well plugged when home for the current commission plugging required to respect the oil and natural gas producing zone of the cement plug with the inside of the outside of the production casing of the left end of the well with the 100 feet below the base of the freshwater extending over the base of the freshwater in the well. A related surface production equipment is removed with the well side of the following completion of the above of the domestic use of the well transfer requirement of regulatory oversight of the well by the commission terminate shall become sole responsibility of surface owner. The well shall be subject to the applicable state laws regarding provided freshwater domestic natural gas supply wells administered by the state of the federal agency of the commission. Uncontrolled natural gas production will be transferred to domestic unless otherwise approved by the commission after notice and a hearing. Notice will be given to all the owners defined in Arkansas Code 1572-1029. All material owners of the leaseholder upon the well was located. Any person requesting transfer of uncontrolled natural gas production well shall file with the application according to Title 15 Code of Arkansas Rule 275, 101, and 102 of the applicable hearing procedures. D. With the domestic use of transfer prior to November 16, 2008, the natural gas production well transferred surface owner for use of the domestic natural gas supply well prior to November 16, 2008 shall no longer be subject to regulatory oversight by the Commission as long as the natural gas form of the well used the only property where the well is located and that any of the natural gas production well is not sold. Alright, 275, 212, organizational reports. Every person entitled to engage with the operation of the Regulated Oil Gas Commission shall file with the Commission and with the organizational report with the form to discover the direction, production for the conservation. Prior to engaging operation activity, the minimum of the form shall include the name of the person entitled with the operation conducted of the official mailing address to which the corresponding with the Commission is sent. If the official mailing address is the same with the registered agent, the entity with the name of the registered person must be included. The list of the telephone number, the fax number, the email address which the contact commission may be made. Tip of the need a list of all the personnel of the rights submitted with the requested forms, required forms, the reports, other documents for the entity with the statement of the personnel of the rights to conduct the business with the state, any other information deemed necessary for the director. Every person at entity should be updated with the organizational report of the commission on before July 1st every calendar year. After each change of the curve of the fact that the stated with the reported file with a supplementary report filed with the commission for 30 days of any change. Alright, casing requirements established field with the creation requirements governed with a specified rule that not superseded with all fresh water saline with a fully protected with the setting with the cementing surface of the casing prevent fresh water sailings from becoming contaminated oil, gas, or salt water. Surface of the casing should be cemented, circulated. Surface utilizing pump and plug method. Cement should be allowed with a minimum of 12 hours minimum. Surface of the casing requirements Wildcat and Wells of the not covered in field rules counties with the Ashley, Bradley, Calhoun, Columbia, Hempstead, Lafayette, Miller, Nevada, Wichita, and Union as follows. Alright, show the TBD well with the amount of certification with the minimum certification requirements of the well not covered in the field rules county with Crawford, Franklin, Johnson, Long, Madison, Pope, Scott, with September, Washington, Yale as follows. Show the TWE well amount of certification with the minimum certification requirements of the well, Wildcat wells and wells not covered in the field rules county with the Sullivan, Conway, Faulkner, Independence, Jackson, Searcy, Stone, Van Buren, White. Show the depth of 500 feet with the top of the Paleozoic age rock sequence which is greater. Minimum certification casing of the requirements of Wildcat well that not covered in the field rule with the counties of Arkansas, Linoik, Marone, Paray, Woodruff, shall be deep as 1,000 feet and 1,250 feet. Minimum certification requirements of Wildcat wells not covered in the field rules counties of the Creighton, Cross, Lee, and Phillips, and St. Francis shall be depth of 2,000 feet of production. String with the casing shall be set at least for the top of the production formation, cemented calculated fill, allowing 25% of the accepted at least 250 feet from the top of the top of the producing interval. Cement should be done by pumping and plug method. Cement should be allowed with a minimum of 24 hours before drilling plug. Director may grant exemption above the requirements condition. Each of the exhibits require more than the requirements for purposes of the safety protection fresh water sand with oil and gas bearing sands may establish minimum certification requirements for furniture producing in areas not covered in this section. Directors note the FATE shall operators June 1st, 2015, supervision of June 1st, 2011, unless exemption is granted with the operators well spelled with the May 22nd, 2015, permitted on air after June 1st, 2015. Claiborne, Conway, Faulkner, Independence, Jackson, Searcy, Stone, Van Buren, and White counties, FATE, Fayetteville, Shell wells of Pope County shall comply with the casing cementing requirements based on the zone in which well is located. Place contact El Dorado Region regional office of own map of the well casing of the cementing requesting as follows. Certification shall be set with a depth of 2 and 500 feet below the ground surface, elevation occurring 1 mile proposed well with a minimum of 1,000 feet. Surface casing to be set with a cemented surface. Production casing should be set with the top of the production formations. Remember the calculated top of the top of the cement and the plus 25% of the excess. There shall be a minimum 100 feet above the surface casing zone 1, 500 feet below the surface casing zone 2, 1,500 feet below the surface casing zone 3. If the gas bearing zone encountered by the Fachel shale subject well is another well with 1 mile radius of the subject well with above cementing requirements does not result in the 250 feet cement placed in the shallow gas bearing zone of the top of the cement being increased to provide a minimum of 200 feet with the cement above the shallow gas bearing zone. However, the additional cementing required subject well shall not result in the production case of the top of the cement to extend more than 100 feet above the surface casing shoe within said current surface casing. Blowout prevention. 214. All proper necessary for the precautions shall be taken with and keep all of the well under the drilling operation, including but not limited to use of the blowout preventers, high pressure fittings attached properly, anchored cemented casing strings, maintain mud blading fluid sufficient with a weight to provide proper well control. Blowout preventers shall be tested with regular intervals to ensure proper operation. Alright, well drilling completion and pit requirements. And this is actually, pretty long. See how long the tape is. Or this will be the last one I read for today. Well drilling pits completion requirements. Title 15 Code, Arkansas Rules 275, Parts 275, 215. Applicability section applied with the piles, pits constructed during the drilling, completion of the testing, brine, oil and gas production well with the brine injection, the disposal well, Class 2 disposal well, Class 2 commercial disposal well. Pits are either the context of the section, the type of the pit is defined, subsection C with the below, joint enforcement, effective with the date of this section, with the operator with the construct with the operator with the pit covered section, subject with the specific enforcement provisions with respect to the authorities, Oil and Gas Commission, Division of the Environmental Quality Regulation Activity covered within the section of the Commission within the Division, according with the memorandum of the agreement between the Oil and Gas Commission and the Division. The definition of the APC and EC, Arkansas Pollution Control Ecological Commission, closed loop system means a system with combination solids control equipment incorporated with a series of steel tanks eliminated useful of the pit completion flow back with the number of liquid gaseous fluid of the mixture fluids, chemicals and solids flow from the well consisting of the drill fluid, site debris, water, brine, oil, scrum, peripherum, and other materials which will be removed with the well during the initial completion of the well does not include the frac flow back fluid. Cuttings mean with a fragment over the rock result of the cutting action of the drill over the rock formation column of the well, which for the transfer of the drill fluid. DEC of the Division of Environmental Quality. Discharge mean with the release, overflow, leakage, or leakage of the alien fluids covered by this section. Drilling fluids mean with the number of liquid gaseous fluids, mixture of the fluids with the solids, with the solid suspensions, mixtures, emulsion, liquid gas cuttings, and other solids utilized with drilling, brining, oil and gas drilling operations. Drilling fluid is generally synonymous with drilling mud, typically anatomical clays, chemical additives, forming agents, lubricants, emulsifiers, weighting materials. Encompass mud. Most of the muds drilling operators, especially muds, contain significant amounts of suspended solids, emulsified water, and oil. Mud includes all types of water-based, oil-based, synthetic-based drill fluids. Director of the Department of Environmental Quality and Director of OGC means the oil gas. Director of the Production Conservation, his or her designated representative, Ecological Survey to Water Body, ESW, means waters that have been designated with the Ecologically Sensitive Water Body with the Arkansas Pollution Control Ecologically Commission. The beneficial use of the identified segments in order to provide habitat or existing range, threatened and endangered endemic species of the aquatic, semi-aquatic life forms. Encountered waste means water encountered during brine, oil, gas drilling with sufficient quantity of the required disposal will not produce exploration, production waste, EMP waste associated with the exploration, development, production of brine and oil gas, which is not required by the provision of and thereof for except for the Federal Reserve, Federal Resource Conservation Recovery Act, L42 U.S. State Code 6901, may include but not limited to the following: saltwater, oil-based drilling fluids, water-based drilling fluids, completion fluid, flow back, frac flow back fluid, water, workover flow back fluid, produced water, rainwater, firewalls, pits of the drilling production facility, other ways not described. Extraordinary resource waters means waters that have been designated with the extraordinary resource water by the Arkansas Pollution Control Ecological Commission. The beneficial combination of the chemical, physical, biological characters of water body, watershed is with characterized scenic beauty, authentic, scientific value with a broad scope of recreational potential, intangible social values. Frac flow back fluid means fluid consists of fresh water, solids within such and other properties, resins, ceramic grains, or any other additive of the flow of the following: hydraulic fracturing of the well, such time of the fluid volume of the fluid utilized with the hydraulic fracturing process of the well has been recovered. Natural size scenic waterways means given the designation of the natural scenic waterways by the Arkansas Pollution Control Ecological Commission. Beneficial identities of the segment legislated adapted state with the federal system. Non-hazardous oil spill, oil field waste being fluid to be used with the reuse connection activities associated with the exploration, development, production of brine and oil gas includes but not unlimited drilling fluids, completion fluids, solvents, and chemicals used to detoxify brine, oil, and gas fluids. OGC, Oil and Gas Commission, oil-based drilling fluids containing diesel, crude oil rather than fresh oil, liquid phase for the drilling mud. Operator means any of the person primary management, ultimately design, making and responsibility of operation of the facility. Operator responsible for the ensuring the compliance with the applicable rules and conditions. Person means with the natural person, corporation, organization, municipality, government, subdivision, agency, public, private corporation, business trust, and as a state trust, individual partnership, association, any other legal entity. Pit shall include circulation pit used for drilling, wherever the drilling fluid circulated during the drilling operation. Circulation pit may be part of the mud pit. Circulation pit may also refer to a series of opening above ground tanks usually made in steel. Completion pit used as storage. Completion flow back of the fluid, drilling fluids, other materials comes cleaned out with a well bore during an initial completion of the well. Circulation of the mud pit may be used with the completion of the pit when drilling operations conclude. Emergency pit used with containing fluids operating well during the actual emergency temporary period of time. Emergency pit necessitated due to the unplanned operational issue that may include but not limited to a temporary shutdown disposal well with a fluid injection well, associated equipment, a temporary overflow, saltwater storage tank with the producing level, loose gas flowing, cement circulation on the producing level of the well fluid formats. A mud pits here with the pits using the during drill of the well fluids mixed and circulated during the drilling operation. Mud pits also refer to a series of opening above ground tanks usually made of steel. Reserve pit or the pit not part of the active circulation system. Use drill fluids contain fluids generated during the drill operation. Such fluids include but not limited to cutting and drilling fluids. Encountered water test pit. Pit constructed during the well test. The workover pit used with the share of the completion of the flow back fluid, workover flow back fluid, other materials which have been cleaned over the well bore during subsequent completion of the recompletion. Pollution means the contamination, other alteration, physical, chemical, biological property to any of the water state, and such discharge, liquid, gaseous substance, any of the water state, as will and likely to render waters harmful, detrimental, injurious. Public health and safety, welfare, domestic, commercial, industrial, agricultural, recreational, other legitimate, beneficial use of livestock, wild animals, birds, fish, and other aquatic life. Produced water means the water produced and productive, potentially productive brine, oil, gas producing interval in the well, which of the completion flow back fluid, fracture flow back fluid, workover flow back fluid, encountered wall, storm water, rainwater runoff, snow water, melt runoff, surface water drainage. Water-based drilling fluid means drill fluid containing fresh waters rather than diesel, crude, liquid component drilling, mud, waters of the shape of the mean all stream, lakes, marshes, pond with the water course, waterways, wells, spring with the irrigation systems, drainage systems, all of their bodies accumulation, whether strip with the underground, with the natural, artificial, public, or private, containing with the flow through with the border of the shape of the portion of the shape, water table that means surface between the zone with the saturation zone of aeration, the surface of the blower with the unconfined groundwater, which pressure is equal to the atmosphere of the workflow fluid means with the number of the liquid gaseous fluid, the mixture of the fluid with chemical and the solid consisting of drilling fluid, silt, debris, water, brines, oil, scrum, paraffin, other material that remove the well during the subsequent non-completion of the well. Commencement and construction of the operation. Operators will know for the appropriate Oil and Gas Commission regional office via the email with the facts of at least 48 days prior to the commencement of the pit construction operation. Over the commencement of the job, the informal agree with the Oil and Gas Commission. The division should include minimum operator information, name and address, emergency phone contact with locating drill pads over the latitude with the longitude, degree, minutes, second for the quantity, second range, township, include with a quarter over the 1/4 position of the section, approximately side of the drill, over the proper distance of the nearest water, over the state, so for the fluid system, type of the drilling fluids to be used, the well name of the nearest city of the town, with the approximate date of the construction operation shall commence. Upon receiving the notice for the commencement, Oil and Gas Control Commission shall forward with a copy of the division of the Department of Health and with the county with the judge of the county whose pit is located. Oil and Gas Commission of the division shall be conducting site inspection if deemed necessary. Discharge is for the discharge from the pit with the activity associated with the drilling and pollution of the well and surface of the groundwater. The location was likely the cause of the pollution and surface of the groundwater. Prohibited substance of the discharge of the surface of the operator division enforcement action of the provision of the Water Public Air Pollution Acts 1949 number 472 as amended by the Arkansas Code 84101 enforcement action Oil Gas Commission as article under Acts of the 1939 number 105 is amended. Any discharge must be reported within 24 hours of the oil, gas, and the division leakage from any of the pit considered the unauthorized discharge. Mud circulation reserve pit construction requirements. General mud circulation reserve pits construed in 100-year flood plan must incorporate the menu count and the other local ordinance requirement pertaining to the 100-year flood plan. Location all mud circulation reserve pits shows with a reasonable consideration maximum distance for the surface of the water. Mud circulation reserve pits construction stream, creeks, leaks, any other water body site strictly prohibited. The mud circulation reserve pit construction wetlands may receive the appropriate authorization. United States Army Corps engineer. Any other jurisdiction wetlands for reference to F1C with a section above the water table is 10 feet below, less below the ground surface of all mud circulation reserve pits constructed above ground. The operator shall use the closed loop system. Reserve pit requirements. All reserve pits can be constructed with a minimum 2 feet freeboard with a maintained handle storm event with a 10-year with a 24-hour storm event during the operation of reserve pit. Reserve pit constructed above ground utilization berm side with a well intrude to the minimum of 200 feet horizontal with a 1 foot vertical with a 2 to 1 side slope of both interior and exterior wall. The top of the berm pit must be minimum of 2 feet wide. All reserve pits constructed with linear using one following method: synthetic liner at least 20 mil thickness for the 4-inch wells that seam overlap, completing covering reserve pit bottom of the inside wall. Sandy material of the place between the liner and rocky uneven surface encountered. Synthetic liner must be protected with deterioration, punctures, and or activity damage. Integrity of the synthetic liner. Compacted clay liner may be deployed with the bottom and side of reserve pit to create an impervious impermeable barrier. Construction of reserve pit compacted clay liner in accordance with the construction engineering principle design constructed to prevent leakage and seepage of water. Stay with the consideration given to topographic pit with the material with composition availability liner material with the clays. With the construction liner suit with a mixture of the additional site materials on site is inadequate. 3 other materials and methods used in linear construction. They must be approved by the Director of Division Environmental Quality, Director of Production Conservation prior to use. Mud circulation pit may be used with the mud circulation must be obtained, maintained free leak condition. Either mud circulation pit is constructed minimum 2 feet freeboard, maintain handle set, storm an event with a 10-year free on 224-hour storm during the operation of the mud circulation pit. Earth mud circulation pit liner constructed one of the following methods: synthetic liner 20 millimeters mils thick with a 4-inch weld seam lap over completing conserved reserve pit bottom inside sand and material of the place with rocky uneven surface encountered. Synthetic liner protected with the deterioration, punctures, activity may damage integrity of the synthetic liner. Betanol drilling mud, freshwater and base drilling fluids may be used with the bottom and side of the earth and mud with the circulating pit with the creation impervious impermeable barrier. B. An application of the mud circulating bentonite drilling mud liner in accordance with the sound construction standard industry practice design constructed to prevent any discharge. 3. Any concrete liner be applied to bottom side earth mud circulation, creating an impervious impermeable barrier. Constructed the mud circulation concrete barrier in accordance with the sound construction standard industry with the practice during design construction to prevent any discharge. Oil-based drilling fluids placed on either mud circulation pit on line synthetic concrete liner is prescribed in subdivision F3C1 or subdivision F3C3. And the oil-based drilling fluids are to be used. Location mud circulation pit is 100 foot over the pond lake of the ERWES and NSW. Operators required to close loop system. Operating requirements: mud circulation reserve pits, no waste oil, hydraulic fluid, transmission fluids for trash, or the other miscellaneous rig waste may be placed with the shore with disposed in the mud and circulation reserve pit. Produced water and flow back fluid may not be placed in the store with the disposal of the mud circulation reserve pit, except for the part over the frac with flow back fluid recycling program. Frac flow back fluids upon approval with both the director, product conservation director for the division of environmental quality. Produced water may be temporarily placed in store with a reserve pit period with not exceeding 90 days per day per pit for each purpose used. If the reserve pit constructed with a clay liner special within the F2B2 of the section is above the synthetic liner at less than at least 40 mil thickness and 20 mils thickness synthetic liners. Additional to the applicable reserve pit construction requirements of subdivision F2 with above has a meaning with a monitor between synthetic liners if the two liners are utilized below. But on the lower most synthetic liner operators require for the approval of the decision writing placement of storage flow, frac flow back approval of the producing water in a reserve pit. Such requests is the Oil Gas Commission permit and well permit numbered, well numbered, a description of the water to be stored, anticipated dates, the use volume of the water to be placed, detailed information, any proposed purpose of the transfer of frac flow back fluids, including maps showing proposed piping location. See the no frac flow back fluids are the fluid to make with the flow back temporarily stored in place in reserve pit, be sent with any of the commercial land application of the disposal faculty of the land onsite with the water drilling for the fluid, storm water stayed with encountered waters placed and stored in either earth and mud circulation reserve pit. Mud circulation reserve pit must be maintained in such a manner prohibited any of the discharge of the operator required with the maintain with the adequate storage capacity at all times. Mud circulation reserve pit levees walls shall be protected and maintained at all times. Preferential the deterioration discharge additional pit liners shall also be maintained protected with the deterioration puncture for the causing the discharge fluids of the such channel in the pit with diminutive and enclosed. Mud circulation reserve pits contain all only drilling fluids generated during the drilling wells drilling pad where pit is constructed except for the frac flow back fluid recycling program. Reserve pit permitted in accordance with subsection G2 of this section. Above may temporarily contain the frac fluid and above with approval of the director of production, conservation, director of provision, environmental quality. Produced water which may be transferred to another drill pad reserve pit in accordance with the subdivision G2 of this section. B. The transfer of frac fluid flow back fluids approved with the produced water via the tank truck shall be in accordance with the Title 15 Code Arkansas Rule 275503. If the transfer of frac fluids approved with the produced water supply shall be constructed and maintained with the lack-free condition, protected with deterioration and punctures. An activity which may damage the integrity of the pipe or proposed pipeline will result with the streaming cost of the short-term activity authorization received with the division prior to construction. Any discharge of the pipeline shall be reported immediately to the division. Simply in the event of emergency prior with the approval of the director of the division, environmental quality, director of production, conservation, reserve pit is with a temporary adjust of the water-based drilling fluids within any of another drilling pad location. In the event of emergency, any request approval that may be submitted to the Division Oil Gas Commission for the review. Division Oil Gas Commission shall provide the notice each of the other time and approve of the request made pursuant to subsection 978. Except for the special for the I-1 of this section, emergency with the prior to approve of the Director of Division of Environmental Quality, hauling the transporting drilling low fluids and offset location and outlet with the drilling pad, additional storage prohibited. Oil-based drilling fluids should be segregated with the water-based drilling fluids and other drilling fluids. Fluid disposal, earth enclosure requirement, water-based drilling fluid, encountered water-based drilling fluid, stormwater water was water stayed with encountered water stored, pits removed with the maximum extent of the practical to pump within similar equipment time of the pit. Over the closure shall be disposed of in one of the following manners: list land supply in accordance with the act of the division and the applicant permitted disposal of the fluid with an NPDES state permitted facility. Injected V with the Class 2 wells permitted to Oil and Gas Commission. Pumped water-based drilling fluids back down with the well bore in accordance with Oil and Gas Commission requirements. Water-based drilling fluids exhibiting high viscosity, high solids, concentrating may be solid, stabilized, combining the available native soil and buried suit. Operator responsible to trim of the native soil or promptly to make sure that prevent discharge, transport, or truck of the pipeline, reserve of the pit with an approved of the flow back fluid recycle program made by any other method approved with the Division Oil and Gas Commission. The operator shall take with a reasonable measure of the transfer of the other fluid encountered water with the waters of the properly transmitted, the disposal of the recycle, the reclaimed Oil Gas Commission Division permitted site and facility permitted site facilities outside of Arkansas. Synthetic liner used to remove the fullest extent of the practical properly dispose of the recycled with the closed and pit should be filed with a native material covered with the topsoil with the depths consistently adjoining on-site with the area of the counter board with the slop. This encourage erosion, restore with the close of the original contours practicable. Topsoil of the native material of the moved during construction. Percentage of the during closure oil, grease content of the material of the buried soup with not less than 3% of the dry weight. 6A of the pit with the applicable portion of the drill pad utilized for the production purpose to return the grade. Reclaimed seed with within a reasonable amount with not time not exceeding 108 days drilling. Work over the break will be removed from the site within case of the multiple well drill pad 108 days of the drilling well. Work over rig utilize last well with the drill pad is removed during the period of the reserve pit shall be maintained in accordance with the provisions section. Since the time closed of the permit granted with approval of the Oil Gas Commission of the Division and vegetated with the coverage of the 75% of the equivalent surrounding landscape, whichever the level is obtained within 6 months of the pit of the closure, until the vegetation still with the operator responsible to maintain stormwater, erosion, sediment control. Whole plan operator shall submit with a notice for the closure of the oil and gas cylinder with the operator with 30 days after the pit enclosure has been completed. Oil and Gas Commission should forward with a copy of the division, final disposal of the earth and pit with the requirements of oil-based drill fluids. Oil-based drilling fluids removed with the pit held with the permitted Class 1 and landfill for the disposal of the drain for the above grounds to reuse with another well location disposal of the other methods of the use of the well oil-based drilling liquids fluids approved with the division. The operator shall with the oil and gas location and disposal of the drain for the oil gas drilling fluids. Oil Gas Commission should forward a copy of the division. Oil-based drilling fluid other than diesel fuel with the base for the additional analytical disposal requirements required with which shall have the required prior notification approval of the division. Any synthetic liner shall be removed with the full extent of the practicable to properly dispose with recycle with the closed pit with the shall be filed with the need of the material cover the topsoil with the depths of the consistent joining on-site areas of the uncounter mounted stove with the discharge with the intro with the restove with the close with the original contours as practicable. Topsoil with the native material with the removal of the during pit construction may be preserved using during closure. Areas should be determined the grade reclaim the seed with the responsible amount with the time not exceeding 180 days after the drilling of the rig site is removed. Vegetated cover the 75% of the equivalent surrounding landscape with whichever the left obtained within 6 months of the closure. Until vegetation is established, the operator will reasonably maintain storm water erosion sediment control plan. The operator shall be submitted with the notice of the pit closure oil gas commission signed by the operator 30 days after the pit closure has been completed. Oil and Gas Commissioners shall be forward with a copy of the division requirements for the workover pits and test no produced water, work over the flow back water waste flow with a non-hazard of the oil waste shall be placed work over the emergency and on-test pit with the pit list of the quorum for the subdivision F2B of this section. Above, all workers in emergency with the test pit should be closed within 30 days of the associated work and emergency test ceases for the work or emergency and the test pit closed within quorum requirements subsection H of the above. Other drilling mud systems specifically authorized for the section shall require the prior notification of the approval by the Department, Director of Production Conservation, Director of the Division of Environmental Quality. Storm erosion sediment controls of the operator prepare standard stormwater erosion sediment control plan with the well site within covered in the section plan shall be prepared in accordance with the proven and accepted the engineering practices. The plan shall prescribe ensure implementation of both erosion sediment control practices to be used with reduced pollutant stormwater discharge associated with the well pad assess excess road minimize erosion reduce sediments with the made enter waters and stay with erosion stay assured with the compliance with the applicable water quality standards. Facility implement of the provision plan required under this section. The operator shall provide with the request of the Division Oil Gas Company Commission to copy of the Stormwater Erosion Sediment Control Plan. In lieu of stormwater erosion sediment control plan required, the operator may with guidance document provide with the operator's appropriate sediment control based on the geographical region, terrain, distance of the adjacent water body previously submitted above the state of the division. Any faculty potential discharge stormwater runoff of the water body listed above listed for the situation pursuant to section 303D of the Clean Water Act 1972, Title 33, U.S.N. Code 1313D, or the ERWE-NSW with a specific stormwater erosion sediment control plan prepared and certified and registered professional engineers. Such plans incorporate best managed practice to provide reduction of listed pollution extent of the reasonable feasible 303D with the location of ERWES and NSW waters are available at the division website following address adeq.state.ar.us/water/. Alright, and that was well drilling pits completion requirements. Well-headed fittings, Christmas tree fittings, well-headed connections show the working pressure and test pressure keeping with expected depth of the well. And we're going to cut the tape there.